Hi, I'm May, and today I would like to talk about the book called The Snail and the Whale by Julia Donaldson and Excel Skevler. So let's go find out what's in this book. This is a tale of a tiny snail and a great big gray-blue humpback whale. This is a rock as black as soot, and this is a snail with an itchy foot. The sea snail slithered all over the rock, and gazed at the sea and the ships in the dock. And as she gazed, she sniffed and sighed. The sea is deep and the world is wide. How I long to sail, said the tiny snail. These are the other snails in the flock, who all stuck tight to the smooth black rock, and said to the snail with the itchy foot, "Be quiet, don't wriggle, stay still, stay put." But the tiny sea snail sighed and sniffed, then cried, "I've got it, I'll hitch a lift." This is the trial of the tiny snail, a silvery trial that looped and curled and said, "Lift wanted around the world." This is the whale who came one night, when the tide was high and the stars were bright. A humpback whale, immensely long, who sang to the snail a wonderful song of shimmering eyes and coral caves, and shooting stars and enormous waves. And this is the tale of the humpback whale. He held it out of the starlit sea, and said to the snail, "Come sail with me." This is the sea, so wild and free, that carried the whale and the snail on his tail to towering icebergs and far-off lands, with fiery mountains and golden sands. These are the waves that arched and crashed, that foamed and frolicked and sprayed and splashed, the tiny snail and the tail of the whale. These are the caves beneath the webs, where stripy fish with feathery fins and sharks with hideous toothy grins swam round the whale and the snail on his tail. This is the sky, so vast and high, sometimes sunny and blue and warm, sometimes filled with a thunderstorm, with zigzag lightning, flashing and frightening the tiny snail and the tail of the whale. And she gazed at the sky, the sea, the land, the waves and the caves, and the golden sand. She gazed and gazed, amazed by it all, and she said to the whale, "I feel so small." But then came the day the whale lost his way. These are the speedboats running a race, zigging and zooming all over the place, upsetting the whale with their ear-splitting roar, making him swim too close to the shore. This is the tide slipping away, and this is the whale lying beached in a bay. "Quick, off the sand, back to sea!" cried the snail. "I can't move on land, I am too big," moaned the whale. The snail felt helpless and terribly small. Then, "I've got it!" she cried, and started to crawl. "I must not fail," said the tiny snail. This is the bell on the school in the bay, ringing the children in from their play. This is the teacher holding her chalk, telling the class, "Sit straight, don't talk." This is the board as black as soot, and this is the snail with the itchy foot. "A snail, ew, a snail!" The teacher turns pale. Look, said the children, it's leaving a trail. This is the trail of the tiny snail, a silvery trail saying, Save the well. These are the children running from school, fetching the fireman, digging a pool, squirting and spraying to keep the well cool. This is the tide coming to the bay, and these are the villagers shouting, Hooray! As the whale and the snail travel safely away. Back to the dog and the flock on the rock, who said, How time's flown, and haven't you grown? And the whale and the snail told their wonderful tale of shimmering ice and coral caves and shooting stars and enormous waves, and of how the snail, so small and frail, with her looping curling silvery trail, saved the life of the humpback whale. Then the humpback whale held out his tail, and on crawled snail after snail after snail. And they sang to the sea as they all set sail on the tail of the grey-blue humpback whale. And that's it for the story of the snail and the whale. For me, there are two main themes. First, the friendship. Due to the story, the snail and the whale didn't know each other at first. Their friendship begins when the snail wants to see the world and decides to hitch a lift. And that enormous kind lift happens to be the whale. So they travel together into many places until one day the whale beaches in the bay. And that leads us to the theme number 2, which is courage. When the whale stucks on the beach, the snail tries to help her friend fearlessly with her big heart, even though she is small. So, in my opinion, I think the snail and the whale is more didactic because, according to the story, when the tiny snail manages to save her friend by writing a message to save the whale on the blackboard in the school in the bay, I learned that no matter how small you are, you can make a big difference to what happens. Also, when the little snail feels helpless and small because she can't save her giant friend, and she said, I must not fail, which is also my favorite line in this story because it taught me that sometimes there are things we think we couldn't do, but if we try hard and bold enough, we could do it successfully. I choose this story because it is a wonderful, touching story which teaches valuable moral lesson with great rhyme that makes it easy for young children to follow and read along. Also, the beautiful illustrations that make each page vividly come to life, like we can travel through many different regions of amazing scenery with the whale and the snail while we read it.